Hey, true crime fanatics, this is Claire.
And I'm Andy.
You're tuned in to the Homicide Hobbies podcast, which is a podcast for people who love to hear about the horrendous crimes that people commit. Enjoy. When and where are we going today?
So our when is 2008. Our where is located in the U.S. and has the largest concentration of ski facilities in the world. They're all within a 50-mile radius. Any guesses?
All the ski places?
It has the most concentrated
Utah?
number of ski. That's a good guess. That's what I would have thought, but no. Another hint, its motto is the biggest little city in the world.
The biggest little ski. Do I get a third hint?
I don't have another one for you.
I don't know.
Reno, Nevada.
What?
Yeah. I was
ski resorts?
I know.
In Nevada?
Uh-huh. So they have a whole bunch of them all within a 50-mile radius of Reno. It's weird. I don't know. I was surprised on that one. I even double checked it because I was like, that can't be right.
All right.
Yeah. But today, I'm going to tell you about a 19-year-old college sophomore named
I'm sorry,
Brianna.
I still can't get past the ski resorts in Nevada. And you said I was close with Utah?
Well, no, not close. I thought the same thing when I first read the ski facilities. I was like, I would have thought that'd be Utah, which is why I was like, I'm going to use that one and throw her off.
I don't think of Nevada as very mountainy.
No, I don't either.
Like, I've been to Vegas, but it seemed real flat. I mean, Utah at least has the mountains. Colorado, and it wasn't Colorado or fuck. My next guess would have been Idaho, but you threw me off with the city thing because I thought that was Las Vegas.
It's Reno.
Well, I thought it was Las Vegas, mainly because I don't know if you've ever been, but
nope.
It makes any of the TV shows and all that, they make it seem a lot bigger than it is, and it's a very small city.
Yeah.
Anyway,
I did know that.
When, what time frame are we going?
2008.
Are we going to be in a ski resort or somewhere cold?
Yes, but not really.
2008 still feels like it was like
yesterday. Yeah. Yeah.
I heard 2015 on something the other day. Anyway, so 2008, not yesterday, in the cold part of Nevada.
So I'm going to tell you about a 19-year-old college sophomore.
Do I need a pen and paper? You like to tell things weird.
Sure, go ahead. Get your clickety click clicks out.
So 19-year-old who?
I haven't had a chance to say her name, but she's
I was prompting to get to it.
She's a college sophomore student named Brianna Denison.
I think I've heard this.
What?
The name sounds real familiar. But go on.
Well, Brianna was a psychology student at Santa Barbara College. She grew up in Reno, Nevada, though. Brianna was very petite. She stood 5 foot and she only weighed 98 pounds. Like, she was a teeny tiny little thing. She had brown hair and bright blue eyes. She also had a younger brother named Brighton. He was 15 and a high school freshman in 2008.
Are you just telling me things about her, or do I need to know the brother?
I'm just telling you about her. So Brianna had winter break from the Santa Barbara College, and she returned to her family home. And about a week before she was supposed to return back to her campus, Brianna and some of her old high school friends were planning to attend a snowboarding festival. On the afternoon of January 19th, 2008, Brianna was trying to be safe and made a list of events that she and her friends would be attending in the following week. Brianna then gave the list to her mother. I was like, wow, that's extra cautious.
You're responsible?
Yeah, but you typically don't find a 19-year-old being that responsible. But the catch was the extra precautions were being taken thanks to a serial rapist in the area.
Oh.
Yeah. Not to get too off topic. So this is where...
This seems like it's the main topic.
I'm going to do me a little sidestep here, a little 1-2 cha-cha-cha to the left for a moment. So don't get too distracted, okay?
So we'll cha-cha to the right after this.
We will. And then back to the left. So about a month prior to the evening we're going to discuss, police were called to come out to a young woman's apartment on December 16th, 2007. The young woman was a foreign exchange student named Emma. She had arrived at her apartment after completing her evening classes at the University of Nevada Reno campus. She lived alone in her apartment, and she was walking through the apartment's parking lot when a stranger appeared out of nowhere and knocked her to the ground. He was wearing a red short sleeve shirt made from some sort of athletic type fabric, so it had like a real slick feeling to it.
Mm-hmm.
He had on short pants with an elastic waist and no zipper. The man pinned her to the ground and attempted to choke her using her own arm,
Mm,
like pushing her right arm against her forearm.
yeah, I get it. Our brother would do that when he would grab my arm and you pull it behind the person's head, and you're essentially choking them with their bicep.
Oh, that's what this feller tried to do. And when that failed, he held his hand over her nose and her mouth until she was unconscious. She woke up as he forced her into his pickup truck and then put a hooded sweatshirt over her face. He drove for about 3 or 4 minutes. He stopped the truck in a dark, secluded area. Before he sexually assaulted the woman, the man threatened her, saying, "If you see my face, if you tell the police, I will kill you." He then sodomized the woman. After he finished sexually assaulting her, he dropped her off back at her apartment and he kept her panties.
Oh.
Yeah. As she fled from his vehicle, he told her, "Hey, thanks, I might come back." And the young lady, she thankfully does describe the feller to the police. No, this description made me cringe a little, okay? She contacts the police and she says, okay, so he's a white male, brown hair, somewhere between 20 and in his 30s, 5'9" to 6'3", no accent, and thick, meaty fingers with a heavy build.
Okay, the meaty fingers made me make a face.
I was just like,
Meaty. I mean, I guess I've described somebody's fingers as sausage-like, but that's
yeah.
because they're generally very round and pudgy. But meat
Huh.
fingers, meaty.
I figure she was going for the sausage link type fingers description as well, but because she is a foreign exchange student, she had trouble putting those words together. I don't know.
Meaty. Got it.
Yep, meaty fingers.
We're looking for a 20 to 30-year-old meaty fingered feller.
He's in his 20s or 30s.
That's what I said.
So we've got not 20 to 30, we've got 20 to 39 as our age range. We've got a lot of years.
You don't know. He could have aged well. He applied a lot of night cream.
Well, the police collect DNA and nothing pops up. So when they collect DNA off of her, nothing pops up in the system.
Oh, I was going to say, they collected DNA and there's nothing?
Well, no, just nothing in the system.
There's no linking. Got it.
Right. So while we're cha-chaing, a month prior to that December attack on Emma, on November 13th, 2007, around 5 p.m., another woman was attacked. She was 21 and walking through her apartment complex, a different complex, but still near each other. An unknown male came up from behind the 21-year-old and put her into a chokehold. He then dragged her between vehicles. He copped a feel on her a few times. She screamed and fought back, and the man told her to shut up. She did not. He then kicked her arm and kicked her in the head before fleeing, and in the process of running away, he dropped a few unopened condoms.
Safety first.
We're going to 1-2 cha-cha-cha again, and a month before that attack, on October 22nd, 2007, another young female college student named Amanda was attacked in a parking garage. She too was choked, beaten, and raped, and the piece of garbage man stole her panties she had been wearing.
Panty Snatcher is your case name.
So all three of these women were similar in appearance. They were petite, young, white women.
It's because they can't fight back.
All with long, straight hair, and they either attended the University of Nevada, Reno, or lived in an apartment on the outskirts of the campus. Okay.
Mm-hmm. Less security.
So back to our January 19th, 2008, Brianna hugs her mom, gave her that list, and says her goodbyes because she's planning to stay with her friend, who we're going to call her Kay because her name is...
Kay.
Yeah. So we're just going to call her Kay.
Okay.
Yeah. From everything I read, I would guess that Kay lives in a sorority house, like right off of campus. The girls meet up with some more of their friends and they head off to some of the scheduled events for the whole skiing thing. Mm-hmm. And it ended up being a really late night, and the group ended their night with breakfast at a local diner inside the Sands Regency Casino Hotel. It was close to 4 a.m. when the girls were dropped back off at Kay's home. Now, Kay's roommate or housemate had returned home hours earlier and had already gone off to bed. Kay and Brianna changed into the PJs for the night, the morning. They're going to try to catch some Z's.
Mm-hmm.
Brianna was handed 2 blankets, a pillow, and a teddy bear. The teddy bear, I guess they were lacking on pillows, and it was going to be so she could put it under the pillows so she's got more head support.
Mm-hmm.
But Brianna was supposed to sleep on the couch downstairs in the living room. Now, Kay goes off to her room upstairs, and she brings her dog to the shared bedroom where her housemate or roommate, Jessica, was already sleeping. Kay closes her bedroom door behind her and locks it. And now this was a normal procedure for all the girls that were in this house. They go to bed in their bedrooms and they lock their bedroom doors because they left all the doors unlocked.
Well, I could see that be if it's a
Sorority house.
right that people are coming and going.
Right.
Right, so you have a lock on your door, kind of like apartments where it's like it's more like a lobby than it is
Right.
a front door.
And this night would be no different. A side note, Jessica, Kay's roommate, she was one of the other girls in the house. She'd gotten tired when they were all out as a group, and when she wanted to head back to the house early, rather than catch a cab or nowadays an Uber, she flagged down a total stranger in an SUV and got a ride home. Keep in mind that 2 other college students have been raped in the same neighborhood. And even without the other assaults, don't get in the car with strangers. I mean, that girl was incredibly lucky.
She was. But my guess would be it's like everybody with when they're in their little college town environment, they assume it's just somebody else that they go to school with.
Yeah.
Not the case. There's predators everywhere.
Right. Roughly 5 hours later, Kay woke up. She went downstairs, and Brianna, she wasn't on the couch. All that was left of Brianna was a blood stain and mascara smears on the pillow.
Ew.
There was a total of 3 blood stains on the pillow that Brianna had been given, each stain ranging from 1 to 3 inches in diameter. It would later be confirmed to be blood from Brianna, and one of the blood stains came from her mouth due to her saliva being mixed with the blood. Kay was super confused. Her dog never barked. She never heard a commotion downstairs. The house wasn't ransacked. There were no signs of forced entry, but then again, all the doors are left unlocked, so...
Yeah, force wasn't necessary.
Right. So Kay, she was a high school friend of Brianna's, and they've kept in touch since they've gone off to their colleges. Kay picks up the phone and calls Brianna's mom. And panic sets in when Brianna's mom informed Kay that she hadn't spoken to her daughter since the day before. And Kay was like, shit, something must have happened. So she hangs up with Brianna's mom, and Kay calls the police. Everybody's baffled because other than the small blood stain and the fact that Brianna seemed to have vanished from the couch, there was nothing. She left behind her shoes, her clothes, her cell phone, and her purse. It's like she literally disappeared off the couch. Kay and one of the other roommates told the officers that one of the 2 blankets that they had given to Brianna was over on the kitchen floor about 6 feet away from the couch. And when police go check out that blanket, they see that there is another small blood stain on the blanket. And also the teddy bear that was given to her to help prop her pillow was gone. Investigators determined that Brianna must have suffered an injury to her mouth while the pillow was being held over her face. And that's how the mascara smears got on there, from the pillow being smashed onto her face. And they also discovered an unknown male's DNA on the unlocked back door of the house.
Hey, do they link all the other rapes with DNA?
You're just going to have to wait and see. It was obvious something sinister had occurred. All the police could do was file a missing persons report and collect DNA. Can you imagine how the rest of the girls in the house feel?
Scared? Glad that they locked their doors?
Yeah.
Surprised they don't hear anything?
Or Brianna's family? That's so scary. The police did note that when they were looking around the house, there were no kind of window coverings. Anybody that stood out on the street could look right into this house.
That would have bothered me. I realized she was just staying on the couch, but
it's creepy as hell.
Yeah, because if you have the lights on, it's like in any scary movie where somebody's outside and you can see every bit of what's going on in the inside.
Yeah.
Ugh.
And she was asleep on the couch. So that was something the police noted, was anybody that walked by on the sidewalk, if they just turned their head and looked, there was a whole bunch of windows and you could see right on in. There was nothing blocking the view of seeing her asleep on the couch.
Not even that. If it's such a high traffic area that they don't lock the door because people are coming and going, how the hell is she supposed to go to sleep?
I have no idea. I think because it's winter break and some of the girls are off with their families.
Yeah, but like for her friend with the whole she's crashing on the couch, that like it's not realistic place to sleep if people could be coming and going.
Right. So I think that night there's not a lot of the girls in the house because it's winter break. Some of them have gone home to be with their families. So I don't think it was super high traffic. It's just they were in the habit of not locking the doors, so they didn't lock them.
But she locked her door, is my point of all this. But her friend is going to be downstairs with an unlocked door.
Yeah.
But her friend, I get it, that part of it is she always does it. But I don't know.
She thought it would be safe.
I would think that you would crash on like the floor in a sleeping bag.
You would think, but that is not how it went down. And police combed the area over the course of the next couple days. They have over 1,000 people out there helping search the area. They're using helicopters. They're really trying their best, and they know with every passing hour, the chances of finding her alive get slimmer and slimmer.
Right. It goes to a recovery rather than...
Yeah. So officers even went door to door to see if anyone saw or heard anything. And the neighbor next door said, yeah, he was awake on his computer around 5 o'clock in the morning. And he did hear somebody jiggle the doorknob to his house.
Yep.
He used to be in a fraternity, and because he knows the house...
Drunk people.
Right. So he figured it was just somebody at the wrong door.
Mm.
That's horrifying, which is also why I thought it was a sorority, because since he compared it to his fraternity when he was in school.
Mm.
Like I said, they'd collected DNA on the doorknob, but that has no hits in CODIS.
Not even to other crimes?
They haven't done full comparison or anything like that, but they ran it in the system. It doesn't pop up as anything. And they're also comparing it to all, because it is such a high traffic house. There's a lot of people that have come and gone through this house, and...
Yeah, to eliminate.
Right. So police look into the previous non-lethal attacks that had been occurring in the area.
Oh, I thought you were going to say in the house. Like, what the fuck?
No, to see if any dots could be connected and somehow find Brianna. But nothing obvious pops up. So 3 weeks goes by with no answers and no Brianna. 3 grueling weeks of trying to find this girl.
Her poor family.
Oh, so sad. And police received more than 1,000 tips in that 3-week period.
How many were helpful?
Right. Sadly, on Saturday, February 15th, 2008, a man named Alberto was headed back to work after his lunch break, and he decided to cut through a field. The snow was melting on the ground, and it was beginning to peek through in small areas. And Alberto was taking in the beauty of his surroundings while just moseying on his way back to work. And he noticed something out of place in that field. Since he goes through this area kind of frequently because it's where he goes for his lunch break.
There shouldn't be anything in the field.
Right. He noticed a tree on its side. It was in the middle of an empty field. Like, what the heck? So as he's approaching it, he sees something else out of place. 2 somethings, actually. It appeared to be 2 pieces of brightly colored fabric out in the field. So, he's curious. He goes over. As he approaches the curious objects, he realizes they were socks. Neon orange socks. And the socks were not just discarded socks, but they were attached to something. Oh,
Legs.
Feet. Those socks were on feet. Then Alberto realized that there was a right arm, too. It was really difficult to see everything because the mannequin that he saw was kind of under the tree.
Mm-hmm.
So as Alberto starts moving things to get a better view of his discovery, he realized it was a dead woman. And then on February 16th, Brianna's remains were officially identified. They were discovered roughly 8 miles from her friend Kay's home in the field with the Christmas tree discarded on top. Brianna was completely nude with the exception of the neon orange socks. Her left arm was raised above her head, and she had an open wound on her right arm. There were also 2 pairs of women's thong panties found under Brianna's right leg. One thong was pink and lacy with hearts, And then the darker thong had hearts and a Pink Panther design on them.
Did he forget a pair?
So police believe...
Did you just not hear me?
No, I chose to ignore you. So
I'm not saying he was wearing any. I'm saying, does he walk around with all of his victims' underwears jammed in his pocket, and when he went to add one, it fell out?
Just listen.
Or he was sniffing his other ones while he was dropping off a body, and the tree branch pulled some out of his pocket?
So police believe her body had been there for at least a week, but due to the freshly falling snow at the time, her body went unnoticed. And an autopsy confirmed that Brianna had been sexually assaulted and strangled with a thin cord-like material.
Like her underwear.
They also confirmed the semen left behind matched the semen from the previous rapes in the area. The semen also matched the male DNA found on the rear doorknob of Kay's home. The DNA confirmed that the Pink Panther thong that was left at the scene were not Brianna's.
I done told you. The panty snatcher.
The panties had both male and female DNA on them, but not Brianna's DNA. Or anybody else in Kay's house. Like, he didn't just snatch a different pair out of the sorority house.
That would be a relief, because how creepy would that be if somebody stole your underwear but you were out of town, so they just picked your friend's friend?
Okay, so I just texted you a picture.
Of the underwear? I don't want to see any Pink Panther underwear.
Don't read the things under the pictures, because those are for on the Facebook page.
Why didn't you crop it out?
Because they're the pictures I'm using on the Facebook page.
Why did you send me pictures of underwear? You don't have to go to work today.
So that picture of the Pink
Panther look like Pink Panther, by the way.
Well,
the hearts.
Yeah.
How close were they looking at it to be able to determine that's Pink Panther?
I don't know.
Am I looking at these wrong?
No, but it is Pink Panther.
How do you know? I don't even know what this is.
Just listen.
What part of Pink Panther is that?
Just listen. They posted that picture.
What the hell is red, yellow,
Listen
and black?
to me. They posted that picture on the news and asked that the owner of those underwear
I would not
to please come forward because they were
the only pair of underwear ever to be sold. The identified. I would never in my life. I don't care if I was flying down the road with my laundry to the laundromat and a pair went missing. I'm not. Sure not. They're gone forever.
It's on the news, right? That these are worn, used women's underwear that were found at this crime scene, and the police are like, if these might be yours and they're missing, you might be connected to this rapist.
Well, and what the fuck is with the other feller with the polka dot ones? And he's looking real serious at him. He needs a pair of his own, is what it is.
So the pathologist confirmed that most likely the murderer used those pink lace thong panties found under Brianna's leg to strangle her to death.
I done told you that.
I know. So the guy that's holding him up, that's the murder weapon, is her underwear.
The polka dots?
Yeah.
All the more reason to go commando, people out there. You just eliminated a murder weapon.
Police now confirm that they have a serial rapist who has escalated to murder. They also believe the rapist left the other panties behind to taunt the police.
I think he lost his possessions.
So the police posted the photos, like I said, of the darker thongs with the hearts and Pink Panther on them and asked if the woman could please come forward.
Please tell me no one came forward.
No, as far as I'm aware, nobody came forward.
I would not.
And I did write on here a side note for me. If I ever go missing, please don't let my dirty underwear be what they hold up in court or post on the news.
I will be the weirdo to be like, do you need her underwear? They'll be like, no, why would we need her underwear? I don't know. It just seemed like, well, I'm sorry, but you won't be able to have any. She's only got these.
The number of times dirty underwear have been used in a murder case, I find alarming.
Disturbing.
It's not funny because...
Could the owner of the white Saturn come to the front? Could the owner of these Pink Panther undies? I don't see Pink Panther in it. It's like looking at a cloud kind of thing of what shape do you see? I don't see Pink Panther. I have been looking at these underwear for an uncomfortable length of time. I see the hearts, but I don't.
Okay.
I know what Pink Panther looks like. And these things have been around for a while because something's faded.
Listen. You ready? I'm going to help you figure this out and control your school.
Tell me what the red part is.
It's his nose. Now listen to me very carefully, okay?
Are they upside down?
Shut up. Yes. Flip your phone upside down. You will see it's his face.
Oh. Why are the underwears upside down?
I think because the hearts are facing all different directions, I figured that's Pink
There's
Panther also is the
there's
same.
only two Pink Panther faces on there. What? But the one
Well,
over the crotch is going to be upside down. I get it now. Because the other way around, I'm sitting there. How long were they looking at them to figure out their Pink Panther underwear?
I don't know, but at least they weren't holy underwear, I guess. Just faded.
You need to get new underwear, Andrea.
We're not bringing my underwear into this because my underwear are perfectly
Were
fine.
these yours?
I prefer Commando, okay? If we're gonna go this route,
That's why you never claimed them. You decided that you don't want to be tied back to nothing, so you didn't even replace your Pink Panther underwear. You didn't come forward, and now you just opted to be naked.
so after all of this, her body's discovered. They hold like a vigil to mourn Brianna. More than 3,000 people show up, and police ask local residents to report any changes in behavior or anything suspicious. And 2 months go by, and it's April 2018. Police received more than 4,000 tips.
How many helpful?
So I'm not going to get crazy with the details on the tips, but not only do the officers go through all 4,000 tips, but they also contacted more than 1,700 sex offenders and attempted to collect so many DNA. Well, they didn't attempt, they did collect so many DNA swabs to rule people out. They backlogged the DNA processing. And then on November 1st, 2008, the Reno Police Department received yet another tip from an anonymous caller that a man by the name of James Biela was exhibiting strange behavior. And it fit some of the suspicious criteria that police had developed for the cases. Like, hey, if you see this going on, you know.
What did police say to keep an eye out for? Just like weird comings and goings? A weird panty collection? What were the.
If somebody's acting different than normal, if they're keeping different hours, like anything suspicious, literally anything suspicious. They left a wide net to try to catch whoever. But then they also got another call from a woman who said she found a strange pair of panties in her boyfriend's car.
Uh-oh.
Yep. And
Is it the same feller?
it was the same feller. Within the week of that November 1st call, detectives run down that tip.
Can I just say, though, he wasn't keeping his panty collection too protected that his girlfriend found it and he lost two.
Well, the one were Brianna's and he used them to kill her. So
Said what I said.
they run down that tip. They look into James's employment history, his criminal record. The detectives then track James down. They explain that they're investigating the string of sexual assaults, and his name had popped up, as well as many, many, many other men in the area. Police asked James, hey, we can solve this real quick if you just give us a DNA swab and we can rule you out as a suspect. James refused. So police were like, strange, but all right.
He done it.
Police also asked James about the fact that he had been working on the university's campus as a pipe fitter, which James denied. They already talked to his boss. They already know he was on the campus, but he's like, nope, that wasn't me. James was also confronted with the fact that the one girl that was dragged into the pickup truck and had the sweatshirt thrown over her head. She described the vehicle as a Toyota Tacoma. He was a registered owner of a pickup truck that matched the description that she had given. And aside from a lot of suspicious coincidences, police really had nothing solid to go off of. And James also said if they go talk to his longtime girlfriend and the mother of his son, she could provide the police with his alibi as to his whereabouts when Brianna's abduction and murder took place.
But how does he know when that was?
Because they told, and it's been all over the news and all that. So the police leave, but they have a gut feeling about this here feller, who, by the way, would not make eye contact with any of the officers while they tried to talk to him.
They should have thrown the bombshell of, who do you think said that we should talk to you?
Well, it was an anonymous tip, so.
Oh, yeah.
They let James go. They have no choice. Somebody to keep an eye on, see if he looks good as a suspect. Who is James Michael Biela?
A piece of shit panty snatcher.
He was born June 29th, 1981 in Chicago, Illinois. When James was in the 4th grade, his family moved from Chicago to Reno. There's nothing super crazy in his childhood And I don't say this lightly, but his dad was apparently abusive, like an abusive alcoholic, but only towards his mother, which I realize that's not okay. And it makes it a very hostile environment to raise children in. But
That and he'd see as the ladies being a disposable punching bag.
right, but specifically for James, he has no significant head injuries. He personally wasn't abused. As he got older, he would be described as the life of the party, and James also would enroll himself in martial arts classes.
Oh,
And I don't say this statement lightly, and I'm not trying to be offensive, but quite often, the funny guy or the life of the party is often described as being a bully because somebody's usually the butt of his jokes. So I didn't find it surprising that James is also referred to as quick tempered and a bit of a bully. He can dish it out, but he can't take it. He's one of those. Straight out of high school, James joined the Marine Corps. He was a lance corporal when he was kicked out of the Marines for drug use in 2001. That was kind of the beginning of the end for James and his future because he returned to his family in Reno in 2002 with his tail tucked between his legs. But the stubborn, now 21-year-old was not in the mindset to clean up his act and make a future for himself. But instead, he got shit faced drunk, drove to his ex girlfriend's house, and was causing a scene. When the ex girlfriend's neighbor was like, dude, this is not appropriate. You need to go. James decided to make some threats of violence and pull a knife on the neighbor. James is arrested. The ex girlfriend was granted a restraining order on James. He pled guilty to a lesser misdemeanor and was sentenced to alcohol counseling and no contact with the victim for 1 year. During all of that is when he would meet a new young lady in Reno. I wouldn't be surprised if he had already started dating the new girl when he went and got those charges from his ex-girlfriend's house. But this new couple, they move in together in Sparks, Nevada. It's just east of Reno. They live together. They have a son. James continued to pursue martial arts training, and his neighbors and police officers who trained alongside James said he seemed like a nice, normal guy. By 2008, James is nearly 30. His son is 4, and he's still with his girlfriend. However, they have a very tumultuous relationship. James has a hair trigger temper and would often get pissy for no reason and then storm off for days on end. His girlfriend was none the wiser as to where James was or what he was doing. Whenever he'd come back and they would make up, she'd ask him, hey, where have you been? He'd say he'd been sleeping in his car while he was MIA.
in reality, he's just raping the ladies.
Right? At this point in James's life, he was working as a pipe fitter from March through September of 2008, which I don't know if you're keeping track of dates here. James was up in Washington State working as a pipe fitter. So he left his girlfriend and his son to go to Washington State, which I found interesting because he took off immediately after Brianna's remains were discovered in February. That was kind of crazy. And while he was up in Washington State, he sold his Toyota Tacoma pickup truck because now on the news, they're talking about what this guy might look like. They do have his DNA that connects him to the other assaults. So now they know what kind of vehicle, the Toyota Tacoma truck that he drives, also the same vehicle that the suspect had. He goes up to Washington State and sells his truck. When James decided the long distance wasn't working for him, I personally think he thought enough time went by. And now that he's rid of the truck, he says he wants to move back to Nevada. His girlfriend drives up to Washington to help him move back home. And while James and his girlfriend were packing up his stuff, she's in his car and finds a petite woman's thong panties in the vehicle. She's like, what the hell are these? And James was like, oh, I stole those from a woman in the laundromat.
Dude, would not be comforting to me.
Right. I was sitting there, I was like, you couldn't come up with a better excuse? If he's going to a laundromat, he could have easily been like, oh, they must have gotten left in the washer or the dryer and got mixed in with my stuff. I threw them to the side because that's not my shit. Anything, but no. Instead, he's admitting to being a panty sniffing thief. Come on now.
Well, technically, he didn't admit to the sniffing yet, but at least he was honest enough to admit to her he stole them.
I guess. That's really reaching for the silver lining there.
Or the panty line.
Ugh, that's why they're thongs, so there is no panty line.
You don't know? Well, Did you say they were thongs or
Yeah.
they were just undies?
No, they're thongs. He really likes them thongs. But that brings us to current with James and Brianna's murder. Police go knock on James's door and ask to speak to his longtime girlfriend. And her being a sane woman, she doesn't lie for James. She tells the police that the dates that they are specifically asking her about are dates she could not account for where James was or what he was doing. And not only did she not lie for James, but she also agreed to help the police. She allowed the officers to take DNA from their son. Right?
Take that, panty sniffer.
So the DNA from their son comes back as being related to the person who abducted, raped, and murdered Brianna Denison. So police sat outside James's son's daycare center and waited for James to show up. Police promptly arrested the murder suspect, James Biela. James was originally charged with murder, first-degree kidnapping, and sexual assault. So now they get the warrant to take his DNA. And surprise, surprise, James's DNA comes back as, yeah, he did rape Brianna, and he is now connected to the other two rapes in the area. In May 2010, James stood trial for the abduction, rape, and murder of Brianna Denison, as well as the rapes of the other two young ladies. They put it all together. After 3.5 weeks of trial with more than 60 witnesses and 9 hours of deliberation, the jury of 7 women and 5 men returned with a guilty verdict on all charges on May 27, 2010. During James's sentencing, his defense claimed that James shouldn't be sentenced to death because his father was an alcoholic and abusive, and James was a productive member of society with the exception of forcefully sharing his penis with unwilling participants.
I agree. He has been a productive member of society and producing bodies and random underwears.
And since being arrested, James was a model prisoner, and for these reasons, James should not be eligible for the death penalty. A week later, on June 2nd, 2010, the jury disagreed with James's defense attorneys and sentenced him to death for his crimes against Brianna. On Friday, July 30th, 2010, sentenced him to 4 consecutive life sentences for the kidnappings and rapes of the other 2 women. And I found this ironic. One of James's sisters, Christy, she's a law enforcement officer in Washington.
Yikes.
Yeah. And as far as I'm aware from family pictures and stuff, it looks like James has 2 sisters and 2 brothers. I think he's the middle child.
Gotta keep tabs on them.
For those that don't know, Claire's the middle child.
So
Anyway.
are you.
Shut up.
Because, spoiler, there's 4 of us.
Not if you count Micah.
You did you meet him?
Anyway.
And if anyone else is curious, we had a younger brother who passed away. So Andrea is a dirty, rotten liar. She's a middle child, too.
What are you doing? You're like scraping
I
something.
moved in my chair.
Sit still. Nobody wants to hear your butt cheeks stick into the
And
chair.
you didn't tell me this was gonna be a twofer.
It's not a twofer. Anyway, I'm almost done. So during James's appeals, because by the way, he's claiming he's innocent prior to everything. And now that he's been found guilty, he's like, I deserve a new trial because they tainted the jury since they brought up the murder and the kidnappings and rapes. And the state was like, what? And he's like, they should have been separate trials because they were separate people. The state was like, no, it shows a pattern of how you, like, who was chosen as victims. Also, all the women were taken within a mile of the college campus. And James was like, nuh-uh, there's differences in the crimes. Amanda, she was only sexually assaulted at gunpoint. And Emma was kidnapped and then sexually assaulted. And she got brought back to her house. She got a ride back. And Brianna, she was kidnapped, sexually assaulted, and then murdered. Those should have been separate cases. And the courts were like, yeah, so those aren't really differences, but rather evidence of escalation. And his appeals have been denied. So.
But he's most likely going to live out his days in jail because, as we've seen, we like to draw things out for a ridiculously long amount of time before killing somebody.
So you picture him and a picture of her. I can tell you he's lost a lot of weight since being in jail.
I don't know. I feel like you've reported on worse looking people.
I get the meatiness.
Oh, he's got a fat head. Or like his neck, rather.
Yeah.
You know what? He's got a head like a Doberman, where it's real tiny, but you could slip something over their head, and their neck is somehow wider than their head is.
That's a pretty good comparison. Well, I sent you another picture of him. That's him after being in prison for a while. He's like half the size.
Prison food isn't that good.
Obviously.
Turns out there's not a lot of calories in dick.
Ew.
It's like the Subway diet, only for prisoners. Special sauce of Burger King.
Again, my facial expression is being unappreciated right now. I thought that was a sad case. She was snatched off the couch while sleeping.
The only thing that would have made it even sadder is if she didn't get to finish her cookies.
You have problems.
I still say you name it Panty Snatcher.
Oh, yeah, for sure.
It's still alarming to me the number of times a crime happens because just a door was unlocked.
Right? Well, and the thing is I was a little confused because if the neighbor heard a doorknob trying to be opened on his house, then I don't know that James necessarily stalked the girls.
But was just looking for opportunity.
Right, but then all four victims that he tried to have, I mean, I realized he was successful with 3 women, but he did assault the one.
Maybe since they never identified whose underwear those were, maybe it wasn't, or it was because it wasn't from a victim. Maybe he had a habit of like breaking into people's houses and stealing their underwear. So like if the door was unlocked, he'd go in there and nobody's home, then he'd steal their underwear and beat feet and probably spank it outside somewhere else. But then maybe since that house wasn't open, when he goes to get back in his car, he looks over and what do you know? Somebody's tucking in on the couch and he can see every bit of what's going on and all he has to do is wait.
I just thought it was crazy that they're all petite, long, straight hair.
Why is that crazy?
If he's not stalking them, he's just happening upon petite little college students that are between 19 and 22 years old. And
have you gone to a college town?
No, I don't prowl around college towns.
I didn't say prowl. I don't feel like it'd be hard to find a bunch of gals that look similar both in age and style, because
when they're sleeping,
and I just told you, I think he tried to check doors to see if 1, they were unlocked, and 2, if anybody's home, and nothing can convince me that he doesn't go around stealing undies and in between having victims. And that's when he sees her friend tucking her in on the couch, and it makes total sense to be like, she's clearly going to be sleeping on the couch and all he has to do is watch and wait. But that, I go back to in a college town, if that's where everybody is, I mean, they're all gonna be around the same
age.
Yeah. And in 2008 the style was freakishly straight hair. I tried to do that, but I happen to have really curly hair and it just gets taller.
I have freakishly straight hair. I can't hold a curl for the life of it.
Oh, we're so sorry for you. What difficulties your life must be.
Your sarcasm is unappreciated.
Your straight hair is unappreciated.
Well, it's appreciated now.
Yeah, you're right. You're missing the faces. Thanks for that panty snatching nonsense.
Oh, in case you're curious, her brother is in his, I think he's like 27, 28 now, and he's got a little boy.
But, well, actually, speaking of brothers and all that, 1, people lock your doors. I don't care if you're in a sorority house. Just do, like, you know what? Fuck all that shit. You can do a lock with a keypad thing. There's no reason to not have locked doors now and again. And for 2, I just forgot for 2. Give me a second.
And you expect the college students to remember?
And for two, just because you're smacked around as a child, or even if you were not smacked around and your parent was, that doesn't give you a free pass to murder a couple people, or do the raping, or to go bank robbing, or any other excuse to be naughty.
I liked that his attorney was like, he doesn't deserve the death penalty because he was a productive member of society. Dude, he was forcing his penis on unwilling participants. That is not a productive member of society. That is a piece of garbage that needs to be castrated.
I would have come back with, no, that just means he's damaged goods already and we can't fix him. Good night.
The other thing of that, too, was the underwear being held up in court and the underwear being posted on the news. I was just like, it's bad enough if they've been raped, but then you want to turn around and post their panties on the TV
As their flag. Follow me.
I mean, God.
Put them up the flagpole, I guess.
But anyway,
What the hell is that?
Max.
Oh.
Shush. What?
It sounded like a squeak on glass for a second. It's a weird time to squeegee the outside of your fish tank. Just saying.
I heard it. I thought it was on your end, and then I realized
I don't have mice.
he's a cat, but he just sat here and tapped on my leg, like, excuse me, ma'am. It
did sound like a very polite request.
Yeah. But anyway, yeah, lock your doors, people.
Thank you for listening to Homicide Hobbies. I'm Claire.
I'm Andy.
Follow us each week to get your fix of the atrocities that occur in true crime. And don't forget to tell people about us and rate us if you like us. But don't rate us if you didn't. Just change the channel.